What about project? What about project management? To start with, you may be aware that life is one of the big projects that we all have, right? Life is one big project that we have. Now, the trick part is learning how to manage life, right? So the module does introduces you to project management, okay? So in the module, we shall begin with the definitions of the project management. We'll state the components of project management, and we'll show you what a project is and what is not a project. That is what we have to learn. So what is a project and what is not a project? We are glad to receive you. Let's start with the definition. So number one, what is a project, right? You must have heard people say, I am doing a housing project, when they are just building houses, right? When the government announces news that we are currently working on a food relief project, now what comes in your mind when you think what the project actually means? So by definition, you'll understand that there is a huge number of definition that that people have, and they may of things that they may call as the projects. Okay, so now, according to the Project Management Book of Knowledge, PMBOK 2008 on page number 5, they define the project management, right? Find a project, and it did say, just a minute. Right. Okay, I was a bit locked out by the network. So I am saying that the Project Management Institutes, okay, defines a project as a temporary endeavor that is undertaken to produce unique product. So there is that temporal endeavor, okay? That temporal endeavor that is taken, okay? It is taken so that people can produce the unique results. So that is what is known as a project. So on the definition of a project, you'll understand that the project is actually, it's temporal, right? So that is to say, a project is never continuous. So if you really want to understand a project, you'll bear witness to the truth that a project is temporal. It is never continuous. So it has a starting date and it has an ending. So if you have something that you can do for a continuous period of time without an ending, that is not a project, okay? It does not qualify to be called a project, because a project does qualify to be called so, especially only and only when it has the starting date and it has the ending the ending date. So the emphasis has been placed, and we are placing the emphasis So the emphasis that we are placing is that a project has a starting date and an ending date, right? So it should start and it should end. If you have an undertaking that is continuous, that doesn't have a starting point and an ending point, then that doesn't qualify to be called a project. So a project is done only one time, and if it is repetitive, it is not a project. This you have to get to understand. Understand that a project is just once. When you say this is a project, just know that it is once. There are some people who want to start, for example, you want to start rearing chicken. As you want to start rearing chicken, you say I have a project of of rearing chicken. That's not a project. Okay, that doesn't qualify to be called a project. This is because the rearing of chicken is a continuous process. Right? You're going to continue. As long as you're going to continue repeating and repeating, that does not qualify to be a project. So for anything to be considered a project, it has to be very unique in its kind. That is, it is not supposed to be a routine operation, but a specific set of operations, right, that are designed to accomplish a singular goal. That is what the project is all about. So a project team often includes people who don't usually work together, but can come together sometimes from different organizations across multiple geographical boundaries so that they can run the particular project. So now, what qualifies them to be projects? Okay, when you say this is a project, how does a project qualify to be called a project? Right. Number one, simply they are all must be expertly managed to deliver them one time on budget, results, learning, and integration that organizations need. So if I am in the kitchen, let's say cooking rice, can you consider that to be a project? What characteristics makes a project? Can you consider being in a kitchen a project? I'm asking the class. Anyone is free to answer. Hello? Being in a kitchen, does that qualify to be called a project?
I would say that it qualifies because it's once and for all. Like when you cook, it's done. You have to go and eat. So if you're saying that what qualifies the project is just supposed to be done, like you start and then you're done, then cooking once and then you're done, I think it qualifies.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Do we have any other suggestion, any other opinion? Okay, let's look at the characteristics of a project. Number one, a project has distinctive attributes that distinguish it from an ongoing work or a business operation. So the following items below explain what those distinguishing attributes are. Number one, projects are temporary in nature. They are temporary in nature. That is to say, they are not an everyday business process, and they have definitive start date and end date. This characteristic is very important because a large part of the project effort is dedicated to ensuring that the project is completed at the appointed what? At the appointed time. Number one, a project is unique. Get that one. It's also another attribute. A project, for it to be a project, it has to be what? To be unique. So a uniqueness, that simply means that it is supposed to be new. It has never been done before. That is when it tends to be a project. Maybe it's been done in a very similar fashion before, but never exactly in the same way. In the same way. Is that clear? That is when the project qualifies to be called a project. It might have been done in a similar fashion, but never exactly in the same way. In short, it's supposed to be a different thing. For example, the Toyota company is in the business of designing and assembling cars. So each model you see around can be considered a project. The models differ from each other in their features and are marketed to people, right? That's what usually happens. And again, a project is completed when its goals and objectives are accomplished. That's when the project is completed. Now, the goals are the ones that drive the project, and all the planning and implementation efforts that are undertaken, they are supposed to hinge around the achievement of the goal. But sometimes it does not just mean that every time the goals have to be accomplished, right? Sometimes you may not accomplish the goals that you had set, so you need to sit down and evaluate. You remember last time, previously, we were talking about monitoring and evaluation. Okay. So now, we can, let's try to rewind a bit, right? Let's just try to rewind a bit. Not to confuse you very much, in contrast with projects, there is what we call operations, and which are ongoing and repeated. They involve work that is continuous without ending date, with the same process repeated to produce the same results, right? The main difference between a project and an operation in this purpose, or in the purpose, is in the purpose actually. The purpose of operation is to keep the organization functioning, while the purpose of the project is to meet the goals and conclude. The operations are therefore ongoing, while projects are unique and temporary. Okay? So the criterion that you could use to measure whether the project is indeed a project, number one is uniqueness. Does the product have a limited time frame? Is there a way to determine whether the project is completed? Okay. Is there a way to determine the stakeholders' satisfaction in the project? If you find that the answer is yes to all these questions above, then you can term that as a project. Is that clear? We now have known what a project is, isn't it? Right. We have known what a project is. I welcome Hilda into the class, and you're welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Thank you.
I'm all right. Thank you. We are looking at project management. The class is being recorded. Don't worry, we will share the recording in the class as well. All right. This is just the first lecture. So what is project management now? Let's start project. We have defined what a project is. Then what is project management? For us to look at project management, you have to start from a project manager, from a manager. Okay. Who is a project manager, or what does it mean to have a project manager? So a project manager is responsible for planning, executing, and closing the projects. So as a project manager, you will sit down to plan the projects. You will commence the projects, and you will be there to close the projects when the need arises for closing the projects. It is the duty of the project manager to plan the project before you can just venture into the project. You have to sit down and plan the what? Plan the project. Now, These projects have a set, they have a set start and end date, right? With a defined scope and set of resources that must be allocated to bring about project completion. So you will see that when you start up a project, of course, after planning, you set the date, you say, we're going to start on this date, and we're going to end on this particular date again. So there is a time frame that has been set. Then we have the project manager planning, of course, together with the team. Then at the same time, you will have the person we call an operations manager. So the operations manager is in charge of making sure that a business is running as smoothly and efficiently as possible. The operations manager will be there. So at the same time, you can still put the project manager and play the two roles at the same time. I should be quick to underscore that. So the operations manager will be there seeing that the project is moving okay, even as designed or outlined in the strategy. What are some of the roles of the project manager now? So the role of the project manager seems to be very misunderstood throughout the world because many project managers arrive at their position as a natural progression, usually from, from their jobs as, as engineers, the programmers, the scientists, or the doctors, or the teachers. Usually people just, they don't really go for training as project manager, just because they have been working, they have been there working in the field, they just naturally find themselves managing the projects. And because of that, people misunderstand the, the roles that a project manager play. But it should not really be that be the case. A project manager is trained. You train as a project manager. Now, when you remember that a project produces, the product, the service, the results, then there is a technical aspect to the job, actually. The question of who is responsible for what and for what is going on, the project managers must actually manage the projects and handle the technical issues that should be there so that we can have the desired results. Of course, I've emphasized that there should be the time frame of the project. The project is running. As the project is running, there should be an aspect of checking the operations of the project again and again. So from the practical life or practical way of looking at things or understanding the projects, you are not supposed usually to, when you are managing a project, okay, usually you tend to be less efficient if you are the one also in who is doing the work. Okay, let me make this a little bit practical. If you are running maybe a project of what? Maybe it's carpentry, right? You're making chairs or desks. If you're also involved in handling making the chairs and everything, you will tend to be less efficient in managing that particular project. But usually the project is outside. When you stand outside, you're not doing, you're just seeing and controlling, okay? You're just controlling how everything's being done. Then that's when you tend to be very much productive as a project manager, right? Because project management really encompasses a lot. So just including as part of the everyday roles, the responsibilities of the project managers hinge around managing the team. I've said that they also manage the team, they plan and define the projects, they coordinate and oversee the execution of the project, they manage the schedule and monitor the budget. This is very important. So the project managers, they have to manage the schedule. The planning, you have planned, there is the time frame. You've said by this day you should have done this. By that day, of course, in tandem with the project. So as an individual or as the project manager, you have to ensure that the schedule has been managed properly. And the budget, of course, the project always has a budget, okay, is monitored. Are we spending according to the plan? It is the duty of the project manager. And they are there to measure and report the progress, of course, to the stakeholders. So you have to be there to measure the progress. So, for example, maybe you have a project of building, maybe something have been contracted as a company, and you are going there to be, you are the project manager. You are going to be measuring the progress of that project that you've started undertaking, and you should be able to give reports, okay, to those people that you are responsible of reporting to. The operations manager now has the following responsibilities. They oversee the daily operations, okay? This is very important. They oversee the daily operations. They identify and address the problems and opportunities. It is their duty to manage the budget, to plan, to report, and to audit. They also ensure regulatory compliance, ensuring that as the project is being run, you are running the project according to the stipulation of the constitution or of the guidelines. Now, borrowing some principles from the project management book of knowledge, right? They defined the management as number one. Let's define management. The application of knowledge, skills, the tools and the techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. That was the definition of management, project management. So project management is actually accomplished through application and the integration of the project management processes of initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing the project. So it is very, very important that as you manage the project, then it gets into your mind that you are there to apply the knowledge, to apply the skills that I've acquired and the tools that are relevant so that the project activities, they meet the requirements that have been set. We have said already that project management is not just about scheduling, right? Just writing a schedule. It is not just the tools again. It is not a job or position or job title only, okay? It is not even the sum of total of these, but the experience shows that few people understand this. This is where the problem is. You know, you find that people believe that project management is scheduling and that if a person can do some technical job, you know, then that individual can manage. No, that's not really the case, right? Now, there is this pervasive problem that we have. The problem is that we forget that there are two aspects of our work. You know, they include projects, the what and the how part, you know, in the project. What is the task to be performed? How will the task be performed? But the process also implies to how the team functions overall, how they communicate, how they interact, how they solve the problems, how they deal with conflict. Okay, all those are aspects that are there. It also includes even running the meeting, right? But the tools, right, do not make an instant project manager of a person who has not been trained in the how part, right? So the key difference between the roles come down to the definition of the project versus operations. So we know operations, that operations are ongoing, right? Then the projects are usually temporal. That's what we've said. They have a starting date, they have an ending date, but operations, they are continuous, right? You can start today, you close again, you continue next week. You are just repeating the same things. Those are operations, right? All right. Now, are the project managers, is project management and operations similar? How similar are they? Project management and the project operations. How are they similar? You know, when you do the consultation from Bolik, he provides some insight. Says that there are instances where the role of a project manager will intersect with the operations manager, and this I've just said previously. So first, when a need arises to significantly change a component of business operations, then the change will often be managed as a project, right? So if the project has delivered the change, then the operations will resume, okay? They will resume focus on maintaining, operating, and supporting the products or services produced as a result of the project. Now, second, the project managers and operations often collaborate at a project's closeout phase to begin transitioning responsibility of any ongoing maintenance and operations associated with the deliverable service or a service. Usually that is what usually happens. Now, is project management important? Is it important to manage a project? Is project management important? This is the question I asked to the class. I'm asking the question, is it important? Anyone can answer. Is it important? Is project management important? People are quiet. What should that mean? Is project management important? All right. Okay. It is important to have the project, to have project management, or to do project management. Project management is very, very important because you understand that without project management, then we don't have coordinators, we don't have overseers, like we don't have people to control the projects that we undertake. And if the projects have not been controlled, they can be ongoing and ongoing. It can be very difficult for us to meet the results that we design to meet, or get or get that desired output at the right time, right? So you find that to make sure that all these things move in the right direction, we need a project manager. Usually, project manager is there so that they can help in strategic and alignment, right? Project management is important because it ensures that what is being delivered is actually right and will deliver real value against the business opportunity. On the leadership part, project management is important because it brings leadership and direction to projects, right? Without project management, then we don't have leadership to project in these projects, and we don't have direction because it is the leaders or the project managers that set the goal, the direction, and they are the ones that provide leadership, right? So project management is actually very significant and it is needed. We need project management. As we draw closer to the conclusion of the study, what are some of the realistic project planning aspects? The realistic project planning aspects. So effective project managers should be able to negotiate reasonable and achieve deadlines, the milestones across the stakeholders, the teams and management, right? That they have to do. Sometimes you find that there is some agency that is placed on, especially on the issue of delivering or on completing and finishing the project. So what usually happens is that who are these? The project managers, they tend to compromise with quality so that they can quickly deliver soon. Because the people that contract you to do the project, usually they want the results, if possible, as quickly as possible. So don't rush the work as a project manager. Listen, when you're managing a project and you have set the time, if that agency or that edge to rush the work, that is always coming from those people who want the project to be done. Please, if it comes, ensure that you check if it is going to affect the way how you're delivering, the quality and everything. You factor in the issues of the costs, right? Because a project manager should be there to ensure that the costs are managed, the budgets are managed, and the quality is also maintained. The desired results have been produced. It is the duty of the project manager to know, for example, you're building something. Let me just say you're building something. You see that you're about to meet the deadline is about to come, right? You're almost hitting the deadline. The deadline is fast approaching and you're still far. It's a duty of the project manager to decide, do we need to maybe engage some more people? Because it should be the project manager to engage those people. Are we going to engage some people so that they help us, we speed up with the work? At the same time, the project manager should ensure that they check that the quality indeed is controlled. Now, project management is very important because it ensures that the quality of whatever is being delivered is actually consistent. There is consistency in the production of the high quality services or the goods that we want. So without project management, then quality will most of the times be compromised. Right. So that is what usually happens. So do we have any questions? Are there any questions?